I remember a distinction that one of my mentors taught me, and it had to do with managing expectations and how to manage expectations such that you have the opportunity to exceed them. He called it putting something in sand versus putting something in concrete. And on this episode of Conversations About Conversations, I'm going to explain the problem, the possibilities, the mindsets, and the actions that you can take to be successful when it comes to managing your expectations of your clients. So let me frame the problem for you. So one of the problems that I see, and this is a problem I have too, is I have trouble saying no. I make promises to clients without fully thinking through whether or not I can deliver. Now, what this does is it causes stress and worry. And ultimately, what I'm afraid of and what it could do is destroy my credibility with my clients. But I realized that I'm not stuck there because I'm mindful of it. And that's really the first step here, is being mindful when you make commitments. You want to set yourself up for success. You want to communicate downstream. And what I mean by downstream is that usually if there's a project that you need to complete for a client, other people have to help you with that. And of course, the net effect of you doing this well is that you surprise and delight your clients. So the crux of the problem is you don't think enough about the expectations you're setting, and you set yourself up for failure. I would say it like this. The old mindset that keeps you stuck in the problem is you can't say no. The new mindset is be present, your word is your bond. The old mindset is you have to give a quick answer. The new mindset is even a judge retires to their chambers before deliberating on a decision. The old mindset, well, if you make a promise, your colleagues will align behind you and make it happen. But the new mindset is that you're responsible for negotiating a plan that is going to work for all of your colleagues in delivering this important result to your clients. In the old mindset, you blame others. In the new mindset, you take full responsibility. The buck stops here. So important to produce this result is that when a client asks you if you can do something, for you to make a request before you commit your time, make a request. May I have some time to think it over? And then what I recommend you do, especially for the more complex projects that you have to undertake, is to write out a game plan, write out all the steps, and who is responsible for each of the different steps. Now, the crux of managing expectations, though, happens when you divide and think about if you should put the time commitment in sand or in concrete. So when to put it in sand. And by the way, putting in sand means being a little bit fuzzy about the specific time you're going to complete it versus putting it in concrete, being very specific about the time you're going to complete it. So when to put it in sand is when you're dependent on others to achieve the result. Then you have to be a little bit tentative, give a range. Like, I think we can complete this by end of next week. And in the back of your mind, you think, well, we could do it by Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'm dependent upon others to achieve the result. So therefore, I want to give a little buffer. Sometimes you make a commitment to your client and the timeliness is not even important to them. And so they're like, okay, you can do that, but time isn't really important to me. When there's a project with multiple parties involved and potential bottlenecks, you definitely want to put it in sand, not concrete. And the fourth thing to put in sand versus concrete is when you need to do creative work or solitary work, something that you're going to need to dedicate time and quiet in order to get it done. Now, when you want to put it in concrete, it's because, number one, you have complete control of the outcome. Number two, timeliness is important to the client, or timeliness is important to you. One example I have of that is in the project that I call post-sales close. you have certain steps that you need to accomplish. And I want to put it in concrete because I want the client, or at that time, the prospect, to make commitments to me as well, that I'm going to talk to you on Tuesday at 6. Is that correct? That's concrete. Now, when you're absolutely clear that your schedule has buffers such that even though you've taken on this new assignment and then all of a sudden other work comes in, that's another time when you can put things in concrete. So that's the difference between sand and concrete. Now, here's the plan going forward for you. I want you to think about a time that you managed expectations poorly, and now go back in your head and say, what could I have done different? Could I apply the lessons that Ivan has shared with me in this episode? And then 2, and really important, you have to have a ready-made list of ways to not say yes right away. There's a song in the play Oklahoma where one of the characters says, "I'm just a girl who can't say no." And you see this again and again and again in business, is that people cannot say no. And it's hard to say no. We don't like to hear no. We don't like to say no. So what I encourage you to do is have a ready-made list of ways to not say yes yet. Things like, let me talk to a few people before I give you a firm answer, or let me think about that. Or as I mentioned earlier, I need to retire to my chambers before I can deliberate on that. But either way, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you will overpromise and underdeliver. If you found the strategies in this episode to be helpful to you and you would like to learn other strategies with regard to what I have in terms of my inventory, I recommend my book. My book is called Conversations: How to Manage Your Business Relationships One Conversation at a Time. It's available on Amazon.com. And I also recommend you stay tuned for Conversations, the course, coming to a small screen near you. Thank you for being a part of this conversation about conversations.